Alpha 6, Echo Tango Echo. I'll be net control for this evening's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Tech Net, looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check into tonight's Tech Net, please call now.
Kilo Charlie 5, Victor Golf, Delta Mobile. I'll listen in as long as I can.
Whiskey Sierra 0 Delta.
Kilo Fox 0 Alpha Zulu Alpha.
Okay, KC5 VGD, WS0D, KF0AZA. Anyone else want to check into tonight's Tech Net, please call now.
This is Kilo Echo 0, Lima Charlie Kilo, KE0LCK, the other Mike from Windsor.
Good evening, Mike. Try and give people a few minutes. How are you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good. The heat's starting to go down a little bit, but it was pretty warm out there today, and I just stayed inside and did some other odds and ends to compensate for it. But I was telling somebody the other day that many of us, I know I am, can't wait till fall.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We had the joy of Saturday, mid-morning. Noticed warm air coming out of our central air and went outside, checked everything, and found out that the compressor unit and everything outside decided to go bad. So we've been without air for the past few days and waiting on someone to come look at it to see if it can be fixed or if we got to replace it. Weather yesterday was not very nice for not having air conditioning, considering at midnight last night it was still almost 85 degrees outside and about 89 inside our house.
Ouch, that sounds bad. Well, I'm old enough to remember when my first house didn't even have air conditioning, and we had fans in the windows, and at night they, put one in one blowing out and another one blowing in, and that's the best you could do is just lots of fans.
Yeah, we have the whole house attic fan. I mean, once it started to cool off some to where it was cooler outside than inside, we turned that on and opened up some windows and started getting the airflow, but it was still, I couldn't believe how warm it was and for that late at night last night. About 2 o'clock this morning when it got down to 70 was real nice.
Yeah, and it's not like you can say, oh, let's go to the movies or the mall or shopping or something like that to get away from it either.
Yeah, that's why I was glad that today wasn't that bad out. Otherwise, I might have just ended up driving around in my truck with the air on. But thank you for checking in. Anyone else want to check in for tonight's Tech Net? Please call now.
Quick comment. Last night when I come across Wolf Creek Pass, it was 46 degrees at midnight.
That would have been wonderful. I can't wait for the nighttime temperatures to get down into the low to mid 40s. That's when I sleep the best.
Yeah, roger that. Yep, that was my 2 cents. KC5 just coming into Cheyenne.
Yeah, this is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo Net Control for this evening's Tech Net. Looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check into tonight's Tech Net, please call now.
Whiskey Bravo 0, Uniform Charlie Golf, WB0 UCG, Jeff in North Boulder.
Good evening, Jeff. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Fortunately, I've got good air conditioning. I've got a really small place, so it's easy to cool. But like you and others, I'm awaiting fall. Fall's my favorite season of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Fall's my favorite. Runner-up is springtime. I like it any time where it's nice, comfortable temperatures during the day and nice and cold at night. Thank you for checking in. Anyone else want to check in for tonight's Tech Net, please call now.
Good evening. This is November 0 Echo Mike Papa, Greg in Fort Collins with Debbie K0DBE.
Yeah, how's Greg and Debbie doing this evening?
Doing good, enjoying the cooler day that we're having today.
Yeah, I mean, the mid-80s isn't bad. I mean, it's whenever it gets up into the mid-high 90s and above that, but I don't like. Thank you for checking in. Anyone else want to check in?
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Alpha Indy Oscar, Jeff at Fort Collins.
Pencil broke there. Let me make sure I got your call sign correct. KF0AIO. Is that correct, Jeff?
You got it.
Yeah, how you doing this evening?
Not too bad. I'm enjoying the cool mornings. I like to get up nice and early, so it's not too hot.
I definitely agree with you there. Thank you for checking in. One more round. Anyone else want to check in for tonight's Tech Net, please call now.
KE0C, Tom, Fort Lupton.
Walked on you a little bit there, Tom. KE0C, is that correct? Yeah, we'll move on. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo Net Control for this evening's Tech Net. Anyone have any questions or topics they would like to discuss with the net this evening? Please call now.
LCK.
LCK, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I seem to recall, and I can't remember where I heard it, read it, or somebody told it to me. There's a possibility of being able to have, with normal equipment, your own repeater setup where you can go in on one frequency and through another radio or wiring or something come out on the same frequency without having to, cross over the bands, which is normally the case.
I have not heard of that at all. The only thing I know of is if you have a duplexer or full duplex, or if you just have a half duplex, something set up. I mean, the half duplex is pretty common for people that go out in the field with GMRS or just a regular simplex frequency that are out in the middle of a big area for hunting camps and stuff like that. They'll oftentimes use a small half duplex repeater type setup for simplex communications. I haven't heard of anything else. Greg, N0EMP, have you heard of anything or know of anything?
I stepped away for a minute. Can I get the question?
Yeah, Greg, this is KU0LCK. What I was wondering was, normally when you have a radio act as a repeater, it crosses from one band to the other with just one radio. But I kind of recall hearing or seeing or somebody telling me about there was a possibility of, with a combination of either radios or wiring or both, going in on one frequency and coming out on the other end, whether it be another radio or what, on the same frequency.
No, I don't know anything about that. N0EMP.
W0LEV.
LEV, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I have heard of systems where they do the same frequency, and there is a short-term recorder. When the first station lets up, that recording is played back to, it's played back, and likewise from the other end. However, it's so-so. And I don't know of any commercial source or anybody, well, I shouldn't say anybody doing it, but I have heard of that capability. As such, it's not, well, it is a repeater, but it's not real time like this one. Like I'm speaking, if I let up the mic, you don't hear me directly, but what you hear once I let up the mic is a retransmission of what's been recorded from a station, W0LEV.
Yeah, Dave, I agree with that. I've heard of the recording, and that's what I've always thought was referred to as a half duplex operation, to where when you transmit into the frequency, it records it, and then as soon as you unkey it, plays it back to where you can actually hear your own voice as well coming over the repeater for the full transmission. I know I've heard of people doing it with like hunting camps or group outings and that are out hiking in the backcountry or out on one's property, big farm complexes or ranches, and that will oftentimes have a half duplex repeater set up, from what I've read and understood.
Yeah, half duplex is the correct term.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I've been understanding everything right that I've been reading to know about it. I know a couple times, even like on the Colorado connection, I know there's one repeater that's out in the not Aspen, but it out out in that area, they have one repeater that oftentimes will go down and it'll be operating half duplex mode. Whenever they're saying half duplex, you can transmit into it. Every other repeater that's linked will be retransmitting, except that repeater will not retransmit, so you can listen and talk on it as long as the other people you're talking to are not on the same repeater in the link system. Does that give you a little bit of insight of what you were getting at, Mike?
Yes, sir, it does. So apparently it's possible, but not common by any means, with normal amateur radio equipment.
W2MIC.
Yeah, W2MIC. Mark, go ahead.
First of all, late check-in. Sorry about that. Second of all, they're very common and very easy. Mike, I have emailed to you a link to Amazon for a general-purpose Simplex repeater that is billed as being able to connect easily to any VHF or UHF radio. Price is about $55.
Yes, KG0LCK. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. When you were looking at it, does it use a record type function, and then I'm trying to figure out how it retransmits from the same radio?
I'm still reading. All of the examples I've seen in the past used two handhelds, typically two Baofangs, and a little box in the middle. And the little box in the middle recorded from one radio, and then when the push-to-talk was let up on the receive radio, the little magic box would would use a cable, obviously, to trigger the push-to-talk on the second radio and then transmit.
Okay, that makes sense. So you could have one in the valley and one on a hill, and the one on the hill would have the device attached to it and retransmit at a higher elevation.
Yep, that's exactly the application.
Well, there we go. That's great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Back to that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mark, for that. I've heard different things about it and different aspects. Just wasn't quite sure what was available and what was out there and how to do it without reading more as far as a standard repeater type setup for like that. So thanks again. Anyone else have any questions or comments they would like to share with the net? Please call now.
W0LEV.
LEV, go ahead.
Well, you know this is going to be a real question. Experts excluded, please. Mark, Greg, so on and so forth. You know who you are. What's a Ballon, and what is the purpose of a Ballon? Okay, fall on deaf ears. Never mind.
I was hoping someone would answer that. K6ET net control for this evening's NCARC Tech Net. Ballon, you're referring to the balance unbalance, or the acronym Ballon. It's for taking a balanced feed line to an unbalanced antenna type scenario, to where if you have a 9-to-1 Ballon for 50 ohm feed line, you can, for a 450 ohm antenna or ladder line, window line, to essentially your radio will see the 50 ohm resistance, even though you're using a 450 ohm resistant antenna.
Uh-oh. You took the bait. These 9-to-1s, 4-to-1s, 6-to-1s, 1.75, 2.8, 4, 3, 7-to-1, they're transformers. The function of a Ballon is simply to go from balanced to unbalanced. What's balanced? Differential mode. What's unbalanced? Single-ended common mode. Ooh, those are technical terms. Sorry guys, that's the way it is. Yes, parallel line is balanced. Differential mode, coax, is unbalanced common mode. A dipole fed with coax needs something between a differential mode source or load in the case of a transmitter and a common mode coax feed. The function of a Ballon is to go between those two, and a Ballon is not, and I stress not, a transformer. The transformer has no way under the sun and the blue sky of assuring differential, that is equal amplitude, opposite phase, 0 and 180 degrees from the differential or differential mode output. A transformer has no way of assuring that. A Ballon does assure that. That is the single function of a Ballon. It has nothing to do with matching. W0LEV. And you need go back and Google or whatever your favorite search engine, find a start page because it doesn't bring in a bunch of ads. Google differential mode and common mode. Differential mode carries its own return. Common mode requires something else as a return, usually the earth. Differential mode does not require the earth or, heaven forbid, ground as a reference. It carries its own. W0LEV.
Yeah, K0PRB.
PRB, Phil, go ahead.
Well, I agree totally with Dave. Yes, if you're going to have a 4-to-1 or 9-to-1 or anything of the sort, you still need a Ballon, which is a 1-to-1 that is in line, preferably between the radio and the 4-to-1 or the 9-to-1, et cetera, to properly get rid of the common mode. Tell me if I'm right or wrong there, Dave.
You are absolutely correct, Phil. A transformer is not a Ballon, in spite of what the commercial suppliers of antenna matching networks lead you to believe. Most of them have a 4-to-1 transformer in the output. Phil is right. You need to follow those with a common mode choke, a real Ballon. Current Ballon is a common mode choke. Phil is absolutely right.
EMP.
EMP, Greg, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You can have a true transformer that has a winding for the primary and a different winding entirely for the secondary, and it can go from a balanced to an unbalanced load, and it can have impedance transformation.
Yeah, you're right in that respect, but very few, if any, that I know of to the amateur world are built that way. You're right, Greg, and that is a very standard transformer. You'll get 180 degrees out of phase, equal amplitude out of the secondary. The problem is there that the magnetic current within the toroid, or however you build this thing, is pretty large. And large toroids cost money, therefore they are not included in our standard antenna matching networks, aka, heaven forbid, antenna matching network. Antenna tuners. They don't tune the antenna. You're right, Greg. They are transformers, but typically they're not built because high voltages can occur, and lots of magnetic current in the core is typically required for any amount of power. W0LEV.
PRB.
PRB, Phil, go ahead.
I know exactly what Greg is talking about. So, some transformers do have a quality based on how they're put together, and they can have some common mode rejection, or balanced to unbalanced, etc. But I've found, with the experiments I've produced, that when you have a good common mode, you're receiving nothing back. I mean, you're not getting anything back on that line that's going to cause some problem. But with the transformers that I've seen and reading up on some Ballons, you can get something close. But Greg, you're the one who put me onto this video in YouTube. The balloon, okay? The guy that talked about the balloon, I can't think of the... Yeah, it was a German guy, and I can't... TRX Bench. If you're going to learn about Ballons, watch that. Watch it closely and understand. Even he takes a 4-to-1 Ballon, puts it together, and he says if you want a true Ballon, you still have to put the 1-to-1 in line with it. You know, it's all right there. So I put together with one of his 1-to-1 Ballons, and it's the best Ballon I've ever tested. Just straight out, just perfect. It's really nice. Usually you test a Ballon and you watch it across the frequencies, and if you're watching the SWR, just testing the Ballon, reset here.
Yeah, I'll pick it up. Yep, you're right there, Phil. The typical transformer, in terms of a Ballon, will indeed do impedance transformation and go from single-ended to differential. Problem is, there is very little common mode rejection in that transformer configuration. I should also stress it's not just a matter of transmit, but also receive. If you have no Ballon, the outside of the coax shield picks up lots of local interference, i.e. stuff from switchers in your appliances, touch pads on your appliances, so on and so forth, and that'll be coupled into the antenna. It works both ways. So a proper Ballon installation, that is a transformer followed by a real Ballon, I use common mode chokes, will eliminate the energy picked up on the outside of the coaxial shield from coupling into your antenna. It won't totally eliminate it, but if you're 20 dB down, it's basically not there. Any of these transformers, yes, they will function as a Ballon, unbalanced or balanced to unbalanced, but they lack in performance of common mode rejection, which the common mode choke does indeed do. But common mode choke does not do impedance transformation. K0C.
K0C, go ahead.
Yes, K0C. I tried to check in earlier and had something going on. Anyway, part of what you've been talking about was what was going on. I have a Zoom spot sitting here on the bench with the radio, and every time someone would energize the Zoom spot, my radio would cut out. So that's what was happening. I had that same problem last week when I checked in. I thought it was, I had a bad antenna connection or something. And I just figured that out. Turned the Zoom spot off and everything's working fine. So, yeah, the one-to-one in the line probably would have cleared that. Anyway, I've got one I'm holding my hand, a Ballon, and it's called an Unun. I don't know what the difference is. I think they're the same. But this is a 9-to-1. And all the 4 windings on it, and they're all interlaced around the core. So I'm holding it in my hand right now. That's back to you. Just wanted to mention the problem I was having there. K0C.
Yeah, that is not a Ballon. That is a transformer. And the commercial suppliers in amateur radio take advantage of the apathy of amateurs calling things Ballons that are really not Ballons. But I can't solve that. W0LEV.
MIC.
MIC, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, with respect to the misspecification and the snake oil, what we're talking about here is a current Ballon. And that is different than a voltage Ballon. And lots of people sell voltage Ballons as Ballons. Those are transformers. A current Ballon is what Dave is talking about, knocking off, we hope, at least 20 dB of the signal that would be picked up by the shield of your coax on the way up to your half-wave dipole. So if you go shopping for a Ballon, you want to be sure you are getting a current Ballon. I know off the top of my head that LDG and DX Engineering both sell current one-to-one Ballons.
And DX Engineering has a wonderful write-up about what a Ballon is. It isn't. W0LEV.
I agree with Dave on that, and sorry for the miscommunication there. When I when I reset, I also lost battery, so I had to go run and get another battery. K0PRB.
So the upshot of this is, if you're putting up a half-wave dipole or a half-wave fan dipole with multiple sets of wires for different frequencies, at the feed point of your half-wave dipole wires in the air, you want a one-to-one current Ballon, and then you're driving coax from your radio up to the current Ballon at the feed point.
Yes, definitely agree with everything stated. It's similar to what I have. I'm playing around with the half-wave dipoles. I currently have one set up for multiple bands, a 20 meter and a 40 meter off of the same feed line that I have set up. That way with the one-to-one Ballon and everything else right there, about 35 feet in the air, and it works great. I have no issues at all, and very little noise coming back into the radio. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo net control for this evening's NCARC Tech Net. Anyone else have any questions or comments they would like to share with the net? Please call now.
W0ASP comment.
ASP, Terry, go ahead.
I would like to point out that DX Engineering has a fine line of what they call current Ballons that also do impedance transformations. And I believe that these devices also essentially have a impedance transformer and a common mode choke.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. And again, that goes back to Phil's comment. impedance transformer followed by a common mode choke. Yeah, DX Engineering is pretty good about it, and they have, like I said, a wonderful explanation of what is and isn't.
Yeah, I still stick some ferrites on the coax cable anyway.
That's another implementation of a choke Ballon, and it works, but there may be a fair amount of power need to be dissipated in the ferrite cores on the coax. That's another form of a current Ballon.
Definitely. Thank you for the comments and discussion. Anyone else have anything they would like to add? Please call now.
MIC.
And W2MIC. Mark, go ahead.
I want to expand a little bit on some things that Dave said. If you put a half-wave dipole up in the air, which of course is the ultimate beginner's antenna and a darn good general-purpose antenna, it's easy to say, well, I put the two wires up and I connected one wire to the center conductor of my coax and one to the shield, and it works. Why do I need this current Ballon thing? And Dave touched lightly on the idea that it's not so much an issue with transmit as it is an issue with receive. And if you don't have a Ballon, you will have local signals, be they wall warts or neighbors or microwave ovens or gracious knows what, coming down your shield and injecting signal into your radio's receive section. That in turn will either be noise or it will be an overwhelming signal that will capture the receiver, excluding the distant faint signal, low voltage, that you're trying to hear. If you put a current Ballon at the feed point of your half-wave dipole, you will pick up, and I don't know the number, Dave was kind of guessing 20 dB, and I would guess it's probably more than that, of effective sensitivity increase in your radio's receiver. That's a big, big deal for not many dollars versus spending huge amounts of money, and we're up in the thousands, for the professional DX class of receiver with ungodly good receive sections. So current Ballons are a really cheap, inexpensive, I should say, way to improve the sensitivity and the selectivity of your radio's receiver. Well worth the money spent.
You can even do a little bit of reading online and get some diagrams and build one yourself very inexpensively, and probably the best money you could ever spend for an antenna system.
Yeah, I might just comment. Let me be sure I have it. Yeah, to dovetail on Mark's comment, I have that very problem. I have all new appliances, aka of 6 years ago. Not my doing. It's High Park Fire doing. They all got switchers, they all got touch pads on them, so on and so forth. I had the problem. My system is pretty well peppered with, at least the HF, peppered with common mode chokes. And I finally tackled that interference on my HF systems. Mark is absolutely right. If nothing else, do your receiver a favor. W0LEV. I think that's all from this end.
EMP.
And Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, Mark touched on receivers, and I have a receiver here, a Kiwi SDR that's online, and because it's online, it's connected to an Ethernet cable that goes to my router, so there's Ethernet noise coming to the receiver, and I have an actual transformer which has one winding going to the radio and one winding going out to the antenna to block that path for noise to get conducted out to the antenna. And the antenna happens to be a 450 ohm antenna, so it's also a 9-to-1 impedance transformation. But that stops the noise from the Ethernet cable from riding the coax all the way out to the antenna and then getting back in and coming into the receiver.
MIC?
Mark, go ahead.
Greg, I want to be sure I understand your signal path. I presume you are using fully shielded Cat7 cable. So are you I think what you're saying is you've got signal coming along the LAN cable, not being radiated by the LAN cable as if the LAN cable were an antenna, but rather feeding into the SDR, going through the SDR, and then going up the coax to the antenna, and being received as a transmission off of the coax outer shield and picked up by the antenna and then brought back down the central conductor to the SDR. Do I have this circuit diagram correct?
So I have shielded LAN cable. I think it's Cat 6E. I'm not sure on that, but it's not Cat 5. And it is shielded. But I had noise, plus the Kiwi SDR sits on a BeagleBone single board computer, which also makes noise. And when I had simple coax going from the radio out to my receive antenna, I had a certain level of noise. And by putting an actual transformer with a primary winding separated galvanically from a secondary winding to break that path of direct conduction, that did not hurt my signal levels at all, and it cut the noise way down and 0 EMP.
Yeah, transformer, it's common mode, therefore it doesn't produce any current in the core, so to speak. So the common mode energy doesn't get through, only the differential mode.
Greg, just so I'm clear, this device is between the SDR and the antenna?
Yes, the device is here in the shack, about 18 inches away from the SDR, and it is an FT43 core with a 2-turn winding going to the SDR and a completely separate, galvanically isolated 6-turn winding going to the antenna. So that's a 6-to-2 winding ratio, or a 3-to-1, which gives me a 9-to-1 impedance ratio.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Greg, Mark, and Dave. A lot of different applications and purposes for them. Anyone else have anything they would like to add or questions I would like to ask, please call now.
AZA.
Missed the call sign. Please come again.
Sure, it's KF0AZA. This is Ron in Fort Collins.
Hey, Ron, go ahead.
So I actually had a question regarding ICOM transceivers. It's probably more of a Mark question, but if it's appropriate, I'll just throw it out to the group.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have to preface this by saying I have a tendency to study things until the point at which the new model comes out before I ever get around to buying it, and then I have to start studying again for the new model. So these processes take me a long time. But anyway, my question was, I was reading about the ICOM 7100, and it said that it didn't have a tuner. And my first reaction was, well, of course it has a tuner, otherwise how do you set the frequency in the receiver? But then it dawned on me that they're probably actually talking about the antenna tuner. So assuming that assumption is correct, I am correct that the 7100 would then need an external antenna tuner, while the 7300 has a tuner built in. Am I straight on that?
MIC.
As far as I know, you are correct, but I will let Mark W2MIC go ahead. I know you have the ICOM radio.
Actually, I have both a 7100 in my vehicle and a 7300 on my bench. You are correct. The 7100 does not have an antenna matching network or tool. I have an LDG AT200 Pro 2 external box. It is connected to the radio via a special cable, which costs like $10. And it draws power from the radio, so it does not need a 12-volt supply. And it communicates with the radio, so when you press the push-to-talk button on the radio talks to the transmitter match, the LDG box, and the LDG box goes click, 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 and matches the antenna. And then from then on, remembers that for that frequency, you want that combination of capacitors and inductors. And it may take several seconds to search the first time, and the second time and forever after, it takes a tiny fraction of a second, so little that you cannot tell. That's a really cool feature. The 7300 does indeed have a built-in antenna match, and for regular full power operation of 100 watts, that match will handle up to an SWR of 3 to 1. However, if you set the 7300 into emergency mode, power output will drop to 50 watts, 50, and the built-in antenna matching network will match a antenna mismatch of up to 11 to 1.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So if one looks at it just from the standpoint of, for a newbie like myself, which is the best radio, and assigning dollar value to that, it would seem that if you exclude the fact that the 7100 has the VHF and UHF frequencies, if you just care about HF, you're kind of at a wash between the two of them by the time you add the tuner to the 7100, but then you get the other neat bells and whistles and waterfalls and things like that that the 7300 has. Does that make sense?
Yes. A decent external tuner transmatch for use with the 7100 will run you $250. So you're looking at the purchase price of the 7100 plus another $250-ish for a transmatch. The 7300, and I'm going to hand this over to Dave real fast here, is a vastly superior radio with much superior internal digital technology. So if you want to, best, of course, is a very broad word that involves price, size, bulk, cash flow, all that good stuff. But side by side, the 7300 is a very significantly better radio for receive than the 7100 is.
Well, that just pretty well answered my question. Thank you very much. KF0AZA.
Ron, thank you for the question, and glad we could answer it for you. Anyone else have any questions or comments for the net? Please call now. I hear nothing. This is Kilo Alpha 6, Echo Tango Echo, net control for this evening's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Tech Net. I'd like to thank everyone, each station, for checking in and contributing to the topics of discussion. I remind everyone Wednesday evening is the Club Net, starting at 6:30 p.m. with early check-in starting at 6. Look forward to hearing from everyone again next week, and hope everyone has a good evening and stay safe. 7-3, this is Kilo Alpha 6, Echo Tango Echo, closing the net and returning the repeater to normal amateur use.
N0WI